This is Mary Omni, aka Isis, from the house of King David, and all I ask you to do is consider that I may be who I say I am. You believe everything else that the television tells you blindly, but yet I have to ask you to consider that I may be the woman in Revelation 12, a prophecy that gives birth to the resurrected Christ. Just consider, because I can't convince you. So the only thing that I can ask you to do is consider that I may be who I say that I am, even though I have convincing evidence at jaclue@blogspot.com. Stacy Dash. A lot of people, black people, constitutional citizens, were annoyed with Stacy Dash for endorsing Romney, and they shouldn't be. Let Stacy Dash be the reminder to constitutional black American citizens that there are many people of color that is not of their kind. They are in America and they identify themselves as black American, but they're not constitutional. They don't have either parents as constitutional black Americans. They're usually of Hispanic mixtures, other Mexican mixtures, and some may even be foreign Hamites. But they will call themselves black Americans. Even Africans from Africa, Hamites. They don't like black people calling themselves black Americans or African Americans. So they are too adverse to black people. So these people are here, and they're of color, and they're dark, and they trampling, just like the rest of Babylon, constitutional citizens. And the new game is to make it look like these people are the same as constitutional citizens. One of the people who do that, and one of the magazines that do that, is Essence. It will put a Mariah Carey on the cover. Mariah don't have either parent that is constitutional citizen, yet they call her black. Why? I don't know. She may be black, but she has nothing to do with black people of constitutionality. Another one is she played Star Trek as the black woman. They got a non-constitutional citizen to play the black woman of the Enterprise. I can't think of her name, but she has straight hair, and a lot of people compare her to Jada Pinkett. And she was on the cover of Essence magazine also. Now, she has nothing to do with black American. You got Juan Williams, who always commented on civil rights, wrote books on civil rights. He has nothing to do with black American constitutionality. All these are squatters, just like all Edomites, just like the majority of Edomites in America and the majority of everybody else. They squatters, and they're all infringing on the black constitutional infant 14th. So it shouldn't be surprised that her and people like Mia Love, who is a Haitian, who happens to be married to a Mormon, endorsing Republican, which the Republican Party is hijacked. The Republican Party is owned, and it's been constitutionally non-consented since 1867. It was founded by black men and has been constitutionally non-consented since 1867. So what we have is imposters and hijacking of the Republican Party. And a lot of these people, like these dark people of color, are imposters. They front as black Americans, but then they're quick to say they're not them, or are quick to identify their self as being different from them. And that's where the Stacy Dashes come in. She has nothing to do with constitutionality, just like the greatest number of people who came in immigrant status in this country, or had parents of immigrant status in this country that happen to be black. We can identify them because they didn't start letting black people in, or people of color mostly, until they had enough technology to identify them. Whereas they let whites pour in, but we can still identify them. They under corporate doctrines. And in truth, we don't have to know when they came in, because we know Esau sold out his birthrights under American constitutionality anyway, under the 13th Amendment with black codes. He breached, consented himself out of the constitutionality and went back on his own suffrage and vote, and therefore breached his own suffrage and vote just to have black codes. So then he consented himself out of constitutionality, and by then non-consent jurisdiction was in the Constitution. So once you get out, you can't come back in automatically. You can't come back in at all, really. So the thing of it is, we don't need to know when white folks came in here. We know that they don't have no rights that Esau don't have, and Esau don't have no rights under American constitutionality. He made himself a constitutional bastard just to oppress, mob, and hang blacks and perpetrate black codes. So even after the Civil War, he wanted to continue the war as if he didn't take the loss as a loss under the Confederacy. So they have been warring ever since 150 years, ever since blacks became constitutional. They have been warring against that Constitution. You cannot war against that Constitution and still be a part of the Constitution. It's too much of a conflict. You're warring against your own constitutionality, so you can't war against the Constitution and say you're part of the Constitution, because you're warring against the constitutionality that you claim is yours. Even so, like I'm saying, blacks like Stacy Dash don't fool anyone. See, what Stacy Dash did is 2012, what she identified herself is as a last-minute trampler. Her and people of color been doing all along, following other people, infringing on constitutional blacks. See, she do know this. At 47 or 48, how old she is, she know Michelle Obama is the 14th constitutional citizen. She knows that, and everybody know the blacks received the 14th first. They want to pretend it all of a sudden turned yellow, brown, foreign, corporate, and everything else. But everyone knows blacks received the 14th first. What they don't know is that it's a non-consenting amendment, so it can't be dished out to nobody else constitutionally. They can make up a fake government, which they did, and dish it out for them to trample and steal the wealth and transfer the non-consented wealth by infringement and trampling black babies for the last 150 years, which they did. And so now you got black people tramplers, and this what brings like the Stacy Dash in. She's one of the colors that cleans up what the white people did, because she's doing the same thing as them. So you take the eye off the ball and you forget that she's just following behind white people, and it's a whole bunch of her kind in this country that black people can't overlook, that they will be judged. What she did was pointed herself out as an infringer and trampler. See, she knows Michelle's a 14th Amendment, and she said in 2012, at this late date, in times and revelations, I still want to trample these people, and I want to endorse this white man to take the Constitution out of the White House, because the 14th is the Constitution in the White House. So this other conspiracy theories and all this stuff they coming up with about President Obama being the Antichrist is what they are. They the Americans. They trample the Holy Covenant just to steal slave remedy. All of them, 200 to 300 or more million, are Americans, Antichrist, that trample the Holy Covenant just to steal constitutional citizen birthrights, wealth, and land wealth, and then pretend that they don't know what they do, and then point their fingers at somebody else being the Antichrist. Well, all of them who's claiming 14 birthrights, who know they had nothing to do with slavery, are the Antichrist. They're trampling, thieves, stealing, and violators of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. They assisted in a system of genocide and the setup of conditions of blacks to be attritioned out of their wealth, stuck in the ghettos. They consented to blacks being put in prisons in vast numbers of millions and millions and millions, more than any other country on earth. These are great number of sinners that are the Antichrist, and they point at Obama like he's the Antichrist, and he was elected as the 44th president for the transition of the Christ rule government under Galatians 4:4. So he is the beginning and transition of the Christ rule government. They are the Antichrist. They are the Antichrist. And now they saying the elections have fraud in them. It's all of a sudden they discovering fraud in elections. They didn't know about the fraud before, when it was all white senators, just all white governors, all white presidents, all white legislators, all white, all white, all white. And I guess that was a perfectly fraud-free system, of governance. These people are such cynical hypocrites, calcified, penal glands, sick, sick Antichrist. And they cannot escape their judgment because they're debtors up to 42 generations. I'm talking about more than 2,000 years. This is Mary Omni. I just wanted to leave this with you for you to consider and to think about. I'm the mother of the resurrected Christ. This is the kingdom of King David, and I'm the woman of the law who gave birth to the resurrected Christ, February the 15th, 2011. Shalom.